how did you guys know that the role that you're in now was kind of the correct path for you? And so we can kind of go down that line again and give everybody the chance to answer. But Trey, you know, when you were maybe starting to look elsewhere outside of demandDrive, like how did you really know, or what were some of those determining factors that led you to say, I want to look for another sales role and maybe become an AE, right? And be closing my own deals?
Definitely. So similar to Alexa, I was thinking about it kind of in a grand scheme of things, like what skills do I want to acquire now to help me, further down the road. One thing that I really enjoy about sales is that your outputs and your inputs are not directly correlated. So, I have a quarterly quota and I need to hit that, and it's not necessarily tied to how many hours I put in on a day-to-day basis. And so I really like that I can start to separate my income from my hours. So that's like the way that I was really trying to think about it. And then I think it helps you focus on what's called the Pareto principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. And so in sales, it's always like, okay, how can I do the least amount of work and still have the biggest amount of outcome, right? I want to make the most amount of money and work the least amount of hours. And so I thought, that's a really good way to kind of grow and a healthy thing to do. It's not lazy at all to figure out, how can I work less and make more? And so that's why I was like, all right, I want to be an AE so I can actually make a ton of money and ski a ton and just kind of hang out and, figure out how I can reduce the hours and maximize the output. So that was why I wanted to go the AE route.
And what about you, Alexa? How did you, kind of decide that you wanted to get more onto the marketing side when you're an SDR, right? And you're cranking dials every day.
Honestly, it was the exposure to so many different projects. I mean, I was on 2 calling projects when I was an SDR, but then when I moved over to the product management side, I was exposed to all of these different marketing teams, and I saw what worked really well in certain industries. And when you combine all of that into one, I realized, I want to go build that. I want to go do that myself. And that led to my transition into Response software. And then I would say, in terms of my current role, which is product marketing, being a product expert is really important, and actually it's a easy way to make more money in the long run if that's your end game. But it also gives you a seat at the table because you have a decision-making factor in the go-to-market strategy. You have a say. And then in terms of startups, when you're at a startup, you're wearing all of the hats. You don't really have a choice because you're resource and budget constrained. You have to work with other people and really collaborate. So, I mean, everything about demandDrive gave me that, starting experience, that foundation to then jump into other startups.
I love that. That's great. Awesome. So one of the other audience questions that we had for the panel is, and again, we'll kind of go down the line here, but what were some initial challenges that you faced transitioning into, your next job outside of DD, right? There's got to be something, whether even if you're doing, a similar SDR role, there's got to be challenges that you hit when it comes to like maybe working with different people or just under a different company in general.
Yeah, I'd say for me, when I moved out of demandDrive, I was doing some level of sales operations internally, and that was really reflective by working with our customers, but really on like a reporting dashboard build, sort of more on the basic side of things. I would say they weren't long-term strategic objectives that we were building out, and moving into a true sales operations role. I think one of the things that may have held me back a bit was just not being fully involved in a full process like that, where you're building and scoping out everything from start to finish. And, I think that was definitely something that held me back a bit.
What about you, Pat? What was it like transitioning over to the client and working for them directly and not having kind of DD, being a liaison for that relationship?
So I mean, it was different in that there was more to think about, and there was like more responsibility. So it was thinking about processes, and we're really building out like standard operating procedures. Mm-hmm. And so it requires like more thought. It's not just like a plug and play, like, okay, we got the templates from the client, I'm going to send out and do 250 or 300, whatever activities per week. It's more of like, okay, we're doing that. What are the results looking like? And what's the thought behind improving those results? So it's really just being more thoughtful about your actions and thinking about, instead of just, okay, I got 4 leads this month, okay, I got 4 leads. Did any of those turn into opportunities? Where are they now? What do we need to think about for the next time?